Hello, my name is SPC Pham with Charlie Company Dub Tune 252. Today we'll be talking about the unit history of 1st Battalion 252 Armor Regiment and the 30th Brigade Combat Team. Okay. First slide, we have the unit creation. We were created in 1917 under the 1st Plan, and we were given the nickname Old Hickory in honor of President Andrew Jackson. The unit was designated 30th Infantry Division in April of 1917, and after a series of activations and deactivations, the unit would then cease to exist as 30th Infantry Division and will be redesignated as the 30th Brigade Combat Team. Okay. So our unit patch. Our unit patch is an oval with an H. The old H represents Old Hickory, and with the 3X, it represents 30 for our designation number, which is the 30th. Fun fact, during World War One, the unit wore their unit patch horizontally, which was incorrect and was not corrected until the mid-1920s, which is well after World War One. Now moving on to World War One, the unit was sent to Europe with the 27th Infantry Division. We were attached with the British Expeditionary Force, and we were one of the 2 American divisions who assisted in breaking the Hindenburg Line with the Australian Corps. We also participated in numerous battles during World War I. After World War I, the unit would then be deactivated from federal service and revert back to the National Guard unit, being primarily based in North, South Carolina, and Tennessee. The unit would not be reactivated until World War II. Moving on to World War II, the unit, now called 30th Infantry Division, would then, again as stated, be called back to federal service in preparation for World War II. We will not participate in World War II until 5 days after the initial D-Day landings on Normandy. We have really long history and a lot of fightings done in Europe. We faced off against the German Elite 1st SS Division for most of the time in Europe. We fought them in St. Lo, we fought them in Mortain, and we fought them in the Battle of the Bulge. Because of our reputation and fierce fighting against the SS Division, we were nicknamed Roosevelt SS Troops by the German High Command. Alright. After World War II, we would then be deactivated, and the unit would then, around 1974, revert to what we are called now the 30th Brigade Combat Team. And here are some of the awards that we have. We were awarded the Distinguished Unit Citation and the Belgian Fourragère. Okay, here's the 30th Infantry Division movements in World War II. I'm going to have you guys look through it for a couple of seconds. Alright. Now that we're called the 30th Brigade Combat Team, we were deployed in 2004 to Iraq, and we were the first National Guard unit to be deployed to a war zone and have its own combat operation area since the Korean War. The 30th would take part in a pretty famous battle called Battle of Bakuba, and by the end of the unit deployment in 2004, the unit would sadly lose 5 soldiers during our deployment. The unit then will be mobilized and deployed again in 2009 under Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in 2019 the unit would deploy to the Middle East, otherwise known as CENTCOM, under Operation Spartan Shield. Here are the 5 fallen soldiers during the 2004 deployment. Yeah. So the Battle of Bakuba, which took place on June 24, 2004, it was the most fierce fighting the unit has faced during its deployment in 2004. During this time, we had a platoon out there that was ambushed by insurgents, and by the end of the battle, which lasted about 21.5 hours of combat, Sergeant First Class Stephen, which is a platoon sergeant, will earn the Silver Star, and sadly this is where we lose 2 of our soldiers during the battle. we estimated at least 60 insurgents were killed during the battle. In this slide is the continue of the Battle of Bakuba. Here's the 2 soldiers that we lost and a little bit of information on them. Now we're going to move on to the visual battle of the Battle of Bakuba. So 3rd Platoon Alpha 120th Infantry was on a patrol in Bakuba where they were attacked and ambushed by insurgents. During this time, 3rd Platoon would be able to launch a counterattack against the insurgents. However, due to battle damage and battle worn, 3rd Platoon had to stop their advance. During this time, 1st Platoon with Captain Cash will mobilize and leave Fob Warhorse to reinforce 3rd Platoon. However, the moment they left the Fob, they were attacked by enemy insurgents. Sadly, during this time, Captain Cash was killed during the ambush, and 2 of the 5 Bradleys that left the Fob had to return back to base. Alright, continue on with the mission. Specialist Denson's Bradley would then get hit by an RPG, wounding him and several others. Sergeant First Class Stephen would run through a hail of gunfire without body armor and weapon to secure the Bradley and retrieve Specialist Denson from the Bradley. Continue on with the mission. 1st Platoon Alpha Company would then receive another RPG hit, but this time against Sergeant First Class Denson. And afterwards, 1st Platoon would link up with 3rd Platoon, and they would then fight for 21.5 hours against the insurgents. By the end of the battle, close to 60 insurgents were killed, and sadly, during this battle, we lost 2 soldiers, with another 6 being wounded in action. Alright, now here's a artist's illustration of what the Battle of Bakuba was. Alright. 30th were then deployed in 2009 under Operation Iraqi Freedom 7. The unit would again sadly suffer 3 casualties on the 21st of May due to a suicide vest. A little over a month later, the unit would again sadly suffer 4 more losses when their Humvee was struck by IED. Here's the 7 soldiers that were killed and that we lost during our 2009 deployment. Good. Now, 1st Battalion 252 Armored Regiment, we were constituted in March of 1959. The unit first deployment was solely Bravo Company to the Balkans in 2000 to 2001 for only 6 months. The unit first deployment as a whole was to Iraq in 2004. The unit would then again deploy to Iraq in 2009, and Charlie Company would run well over 600 combat missions during a 10-month period, making it the most used unit in the 30th Brigade combat team for combat operations. The unit would then deploy again in Kosovo for a year-long deployment, and finally, recently, the deployment I was on, the unit would then deploy to CENTCOM under Operation Spot the Shield. Charlie Company was primarily based in Saudi Arabia, where we guarded Air Defense Artillery, which is the ADA, who guarded Saudi Arabian infrastructures and oil fields. Yep, that's the end of the unit history of 252 and 30th Brigade Combat Team. Thank you all for listening on this presentation. It's now up to you guys to carry on the history of this unit.